Yo, what is up YouTube? James Baek here, and today I have round 9 of the Champions Cup, my post-tournament analysis in one of the biggest, largest online VGC tournaments that we've had in a while, and this is round 9. I'm currently 7-1 in this tournament after dropping the last round, and my opponent is also 7-1, and if you don't know, you have to go 8-1 in order to advance in this tournament. So if I lose this last round of Swiss, I am out. If I win, I'm guaranteed into the top 32. So yeah, let's get started and get ready for this analysis. But before I do say that, I really want to thank everyone who's been supporting me lately on YouTube. Especially, it has been amazing. You guys have been showing some crazy support for these videos, and especially since we're coming towards near the end of these post analysis games. So let me know what you think about that down below in the comments. If we get a bunch of hype and likes for these videos, maybe I'll enter another online tournament and do this exact same thing. Who knows? But yeah, share your thoughts down below. Comments and likes really do help with the algorithm, really helps your boy out. And yeah, we're gonna get started. We got Sela here. And I do also want to mention that I have been streaming on Twitch. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting me on Twitch lately. I did a viewer battle stream today. Really great set so far and really great support. I'll be doing probably viewer battles on my Twitch channel about twice a month, it seems. Either once or twice a month, so be sure to hit that follow button if you haven't. Twitch.tv/James Baek, link in the description down below. But yeah, we got our team here. Of course, we got the Dustclops, the Dragapult, the Sableye, Arcanine, Milotic, and Ferrothorn. My opponent's running a really interesting and scary team with the Durant, Milotic, Dustclops, Tyranitar, Togekiss, and Poltergeist. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong here, and I mean a lot of things. So looking at the team, I'm thinking it's probably like a Coil, Milotic. It's Life Orb on the Durant, I'm pretty confident, because that's pretty much the only item they run. I assume it's a Violet, Dustclops, of course. The Togekiss could be either support or offensive. I'm not exactly too sure based on this, but I'm assuming it's like, since it's set up with Poltergeist, it's probably like a support follow me one. And then Tyranitar could be that weakness policy, but of course the Poltergeist could be too. And I can't deny the fact that it could be Shadow Sneak on the Dustclops to set up for the weak armor weakness policy on the Poltergeist. So I gotta be careful about that. Lead wise, I'm pretty sure that Sableye shut down a lot of the options. Like, Sableye is really good against Durant teams, and it's really good against this like weakness policy self-attack strategies. So I thought Sableye was a pretty good lead, especially since the self Shadow Sneak would be Dustclops in this case, which means Sableye outspeeds and can get the trick off before that Shadow Sneak comes out. So I know I want to lead that. I think I bring Arcanine and Ferrothorn in the back. Arcanine's good against the Durant as well as the Tyranitar, which is useful. And I bring the Ferrothorn because it's great against Togekiss and Milotic, which could give me problems. So we're gonna get into game 1 here. Very important. This is the win and in match. The loser will be eliminated from top cut most likely, except there was one X2 that could make it in to the top 32, but of course we don't want to risk that here. And my resistance wasn't exactly that great here, so going into it, so I know what I had to do. So Poltergeist Dustclops comes out as a lead. Frisk comes out, figures out my weakness policy, my Jax button. So it's basically a mind game, because you know that I have Trick based on the fact that I have a Jax button. And yeah, so I'm actually gonna go for Dragon Arts and Trick. I just decided to throw it off right away because I feel like even if my opponent goes for Protect here on the Trick, I don't think it's like the end of the world for me, because I could play around it. And like, if I get it off, I could definitely win, and my opponent could definitely anticipate it as well right here. So I'm just gonna go for it right here. Like, I feel like it's okay in a game 1 scenario where I just go for it, because my opponent might also be thinking the same thing. Like, maybe I don't go for the Trick thinking or expecting to Protect, or maybe like a Tyranitar switch, and it could be detrimental. So this is a really big turn 1 here, but I feel like since it's game 1, I get to figure out how my opponent plays. So no Dynamax comes out, as I do go for the Trick here into the Poltergeist, and we do reveal that it is going to be that weakness policy set, as Self Shadow Sneak comes out from the Dragapult. Tarisan, the Poltergeist, does a good amount and activates the weak armor, but that Poltergeist is up on out of here, as we are going to be able to eliminate a very, very big threat to my team. That thing could have been a monster of a situation. I had Assault Vest Ferrothorn, which is why I wasn't too worried about if like there was a Protect. I could have gotten in my Ferrothorn, and Ferrothorn with the Assault Vest would have been able to tank some attacks. So that's why I was pretty okay with going for the Trick turn 1, as the Togekiss comes in. And now I do go for the Dragon Darts here. It would have hit the Poltergeist if there wasn't no Self Shadow Sneak, in case it was like Shell Smash immediately, which is why I went for the Dragon Darts right here. And now this next turn is a bit interesting. So I think about going to Ferroform, but I don't want to find out if it's a fire move on Togekiss immediately. So I think I actually just go for a Dynamax. I think I go for Steel Spike and I sell Shadow Sneak because I'm worried about Togekiss Dynamaxing and I need damage on Togekiss. Like, it's really important to get the damage on Togekiss, I feel like. And if you follow me, it's not a big deal because you take a lot of damage from Steel Spike where it's to a KO. And I think that's a really good trade because like all the offensive presence would basically be this Poltergeist and this Togekiss. I'm assuming if you brought Poltergeist, you didn't bring Durant because of the fact that you would probably want to Dynamax the Poltergeist. The Togekiss, I don't know if it's going to be that support set or an offensive set. I am thinking it's a support set, but just in case, I am going to go for that Dynamax right away and just go for the offensive option. As my opponent goes for Ally Switch and reveals with the Dusclops, which is kind of annoying because I could have went for Max Ghost here. I think I went for Steel Spike just to get the maximum amount of damage possible. Yeah, because I think Steel Spike and the Shadow Sneak could have killed the offensive Togekiss if it didn't Dynamax, which is why I made this play. So I do go for the Max Steel Spike. Does target down the Dusclops and does a good amount after the Weakness Policy proc from the Self Shadow Sneak. Does raise my defense here, which is pretty nice. And we'll see what the Togekiss went for. I think it went just for Dazzling Gleam. Yep, it went for Dazzling Gleam. And it crits my Sableye. So it's probably like a Scope Lens Togekiss, most likely. That's what I'm assuming right now. And it's kind of annoying because if they run Flamethrower sometimes, I mean, I'm pretty sure that this is Follow Me. So I'm thinking it's like 3 attacks fire move, or maybe 4 went Air Slash. So I go in Arcanine here, which is pretty fine. Because I know that I can go for a Max Ghost here and a Wild Charge, and I could potentially pick up the knockout onto Togekiss. Now, I do have to call Ally Switches, which is a bit of an annoying thing. But I think I decided just to double to Togekiss slot because I felt it was unlikely that my opponent would go for the Dynamax. And even if they did, I'm going to get the defense drop on Togekiss guaranteed, knock out the Dusclops, and get a ton of damage to Togekiss, which is absolutely huge. So I was like, okay, that's not a bad trade, I think, overall. So I'm just going to go straight for the attacks and see how it pulls out. If it does go for the Dynamax and goes for it, I don't think it's too bad because like the Togekiss is going to take a lot of damage from the Wild Charge at -1. And then I should be able to knock it out with my Arcanine afterward. But my opponent switches out the Dusclops, goes out in a Tyranitar, probably to catch the Max Phantasm here, which makes sense. And I think I would have went for Steel Spike though, if anything. I don't think well, I could have went for Eater. I could have targeted the Dusclops slot with Phantasm. I think it just depends. I think I could have went for Phantasm or Steel Spike. I think they would have both been viable plays. But the Togekiss does end up Dynamaxing on my opponent's side, which I was very happy to see because unless you Max Guard here, I should be able to knock out the Togekiss with the boosted Phantasm, which is going to do about probably 60%. As did about 50%, but it's still good damage. And with the defense drop from the Max Phantasm, Wild Charge is guaranteed to knock out this Togekiss at this range. So Wild Charge does come out and it does pick up the knockout Togekiss. So that was absolutely huge. Getting rid of that Togekiss is amazing for me. As obviously the Dynamax and that thing's a huge offensive threat. The only Pokemon that can have a fire move now is the Tyranitar. So feeling pretty good about my position. The Dynamax is over from Dragapult, I believe, at this point. But I think it's pretty much a wrap here because Arcanine's going to be putting on a ton of work. As actually, no, I think this is that was my second turn of Dynamax. I went for Steel Spike first and then Max Ghost. Yeah. So I saw one more turn of Dynamax, which is perfect because now I get to go for the I think I just Max Phantasm again, the Dusclops in close combat. The Dusclops slot, this covers for Ally Switch, which is a potential play my opponent could make. But if my opponent has an Ally Switch, I knock out the Dusclops and the close combat gets redirected into Tyranitar. So I saw no drawback into this play. And yeah, my opponent goes for the Ally Switch trying to catch something. I don't know if it's Focus Sash Tyranitar on this team. It's definitely a possibility. But with the Max Phantasm going for the Tyranitar, doing a ton of damage. Like, that damage is actually disgusting onto Tyranitar for a resisted hit. Being able to knock it out with the close combat, and that is going to be the game. So if it was Sash Tyranitar, I wonder how this game would have came out to. But I'm pretty sure like it can't do anything. Like Crunch wouldn't knock out the Dragapult, or maybe it would, but Arcanine would still be alive, which is absolutely huge. Rock Slide wouldn't knock out the Dragapult either. Knocks out by my Arcanine, but the Tyranitar would be in range of Dragon Darts afterwards. So felt pretty good about about the positions in general. I felt like overall, I think I just made good plays that got me good mid ground, because there wasn't really much my opponent could do to stop these plays. I feel like overall, especially getting that momentum, stopping the Poltergeist from setting up with that weakness policy was absolutely huge as well. So Dynamax is over at this point, but I'm at +2. The Poltergeist already took chip as well as his Dusclops. Dragon Darts probably picks up a knockout. Like if you double up my slot, it doesn't matter at this point. Like ally switch doesn't even change anything. I'm just gonna double the Dusclops with Flare Blitz plus Dragon Darts in case of a random ally switch. But I was like, Dragon Darts probably knocks out the Poltergeist anyway at the range it's at, with the +2 Dragon Darts. And if it doesn't, if you protect the Poltergeist, Dragon Darts just knocks out Dusclops and it doesn't change anything. So yeah, ally switch comes out for the 3rd time this game. The Dragon Darts does come out and pick up the knockout on that Poltergeist. It doesn't have exactly the greatest physical defense in the world. It's got pretty low HP as well for being a ghost type. So we are able to knock out both Pokemon with just a single Dragon Darts, which is amazing. And I'm able to take the first game of the set, which is obviously you want to be up a set. It allows you to up your risk factor in making more aggressive plays, or gives you opportunities to adapt better if it does come down to that 3rd game, because you're not under all the pressure. So going into this next game, I felt like overall it was going to be, obviously it was going to be tough, right? Because it's still a hard team to deal with, because there's that Togekiss, there's the Tyranitar. It just really depends on the sets. I don't know any of the sets. That's the thing about this. Like even though I won the first game, I had to reveal a lot of information about my team, and I didn't really get much from my opponent's side other than it was like ally switch Dusclops, which I do have to worry about in the future. And I know now the weakness policy is on the Poltergeist, but I learned nothing from the Togekiss as well as the Tyranitar, because like I can't confirm it's guaranteed going to be that Scope Lens. I'm only guessing it's going to be Scope Lens because it crit immediately. But you know, if it was just a Serene Grace, I mean not Serene Grace, just Super Luck Togekiss support, like I can't tell really basically the damage from it at this point. So that's something I have to be worried about. Like in the back of my mind, it's going to be that Scope Lens on the Togekiss, but overall I can't 100% say with confidence it's going to be a Scope Lens. So I think I go with the same 4 once again, because I felt like there was nothing wrong with it. I think all 4 Pokemon basically are going to do work. My opponent switches it up this time, going with the Poltergeist plus the Milotic, because I do lead Sableye Dragapult once again. I can go for the trick here into the what's it called, the Moripod. So yeah, I didn't expect my opponent to actually allow me to do that. So I thought, okay, I could maybe just knock out this Poltergeist to protect and be safe. This was a turn I pretty much messed up, because I completely forgot that Choice Scarf Milotic is a potential set that they can run on these teams with the Brutal Swing option. And yeah, I completely forgot about that. So a correct play that I could have been here was just go for a trick into the Milotic and max Ghost. And that would have 100% won me this game. Unless it was the Hypnosis set, which that's the only thing I didn't know. But then I would have taunted if I knew that. Go for the Cell Shadow Sneak into the Dragapult to activate the policy, because I want to get as much damage through Protect as possible, because it puts in Shadow Sneak range, which is what I was thinking if he goes for Protect. Also, there's like does so much damage and there's no switching from my opponent. But the Brutal Swing, it does reveal it is a Choice Scarf Milotic. It outspeeds my Dragapult, and yeah, that was something I completely forgot about. Like that was a huge mistake. I didn't think my opponent would do that either, because of the fact that if I tricked here, like I guaranteed one, and I definitely could have went for the trick into that Moripot once again. But yeah, instead my Sableye gets ejected out, and now I'm in an awkward spot. I thought maybe it was like Icy Wind Milotic potentially too, so it could have went for that, or just damage onto my Sableye to get rid of the eject button. But Shadow Ball comes out. Even without the Dynamax, it's still +2, so it's able to knock out my Dragapult after that Shadow Sneak chip. So I do lose my Dragapult there, and basically this game's looking like a wrap. I used up my Dynamax, my opponent still has theirs, and that was just a careless mistake by me. Like that was probably one of the worst plays I've done this entire tournament, because I completely forgot that Choice Scarf Milotic could have been a set. So I'm already looking pretty bad here, and it's like, okay, I think no out at this point. I think I just click buttons. Like realistically, I think I just click buttons because I know that there should be no shot of winning this game because I'm so down at this point. I just take too much damage. There's really not much I can do here. Damage wise, like he would have to really screw up and like literally misclick in order for me to lose this. So my Lodic retreats here, goes out of Togekiss, and I don't even remember what I did. Did I trick here? As the Dynamax comes out from the Mori pot, I think I went for Seed Bomb trick here because I thought there was a Dynamax coming out from the Mori pot at this rate because there's really no drawback to going for it at this point. I'm like, okay, maybe I can if I sack the Sableye here and get the eject button off, maybe there's a shot, like very little, but maybe. As I went for Shadow Sneak, hoping he wouldn't Dynamax and I get a crit. And I couldn't even trick the eject button. Actually, I couldn't even trick the eject button anyway. What am I saying? I went for Shadow Sneak just to hope for a crit in the regular form. And then Max Ghost comes out and targets my Ferrothorn. I want to see how much this does, but unfortunately it crit me, I think. So I can't even tell if I guaranteed live that or not. I felt like I did live that. Of course, the crit doesn't matter at this point because I felt like the game was over. But I just wanted to see the damage on Ferrothorn because I wasn't calculating throughout this tournament. I wasn't using the damage calculator. I could. It is technically illegal. But I just wanted to play in a match like it was. So I couldn't tell if that crit actually mattered or not. I assumed it basically did, but I just wanted to confirm how much damage it did. So unfortunately, I don't even get to find that out. And I think I just forfeit here because there's no way I can win at this point. So we're going to go into game 3. That game 2 was probably not my best played game. But at least I know what I need to do in order to beat that lead. If my opponent leads that again, I just click Trick into the Milotic. So I'm okay with that. The problem is going to game 3. And the problem with going to game 3 for me is, of course, my opponent able to just leads. And that's basically what I'm scared of, because I don't think my opponent should lead this for the 3rd game, because it's very susceptible to my trick on my Sableye. So yeah, I feel like overall, I was super scared of a few things. Like I was trying to anticipate the leads based on my notes. And I think the leads that I was probably worried about was Dusclops leading again, but this time you don't bring the Poltergeist lead. I think I was expecting basically either Tyranitar Dusclops, which I felt like I had a plan for anyway, because I would probably just click Max Dragon or Steel Spike and just start setting up, since I know it's not weakness policy on the Tyranitar, or Togekiss and Dusclops. And I felt like Togekiss Dusclops was the hardest one, and I felt like I had to plan ahead. So I was already thinking about this game plan before, and I was like, okay, if he leads Togekiss plus Dusclops, because I felt like that's a pretty safe lead overall against that trick eject button stuff. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to get rid of the eject button on the Sableye. I'm gonna trick the Togekiss, because one, if Togekiss Dynamax, I'm in a really bad spot if it gets an attack off. At 2, if you don't Dynamax, it's fine, because as long as I prevent the Poltergeist from getting the weakness policy boost, even if it gets the speed boost, Max Phantasm shouldn't be able to knock out Dragapult because it's not boosted, because it does have really high special attack. But the fact is, my Dragapult's super bulky, so I'm like, and with Dynamax, I'm like pretty sure that I survive it. So that was my game plan going into this. So I go with the same 4 because I think it is the best 4 to bring in the situation. Like I just don't see I don't see my own Dusclops helping. Like, yeah, I can haze, but the fact is, the Tyranitar kind of makes it tough. It's kind of it's a weird Pokemon to bring, and I don't really like it as much against his team. And of course, I did have my Milotic, but the fact is, I don't think my Milotic really helps in this game at all, as my opponent does lead that Dusclops plus the Togekiss here, and I pretty much knew the game plan. As I mentioned before, I was going to go for the immediate Steel Spike, I think, and Trick here just to make sure that I can pick up the knockout into the Togekiss, or not pick up the knockout Togekiss, to eject it out, so I can so basically I guaranteed Trick here the Togekiss, because you don't protect in this position. You always click follow me in case if I go for Trick, Max Ghost into Dusclops as you protect your Togekiss, you 100% lose. So I know you have to follow me here in this position, or you have to go for the Dynamax attack here, which I feel like is also kind of unlikely. But I know that at this point I can go for this, and as long as the Togekiss can attack my Sableye, Sela sticks around and I can trick in a following turn, which is super important. So I do go for the trick as there is a follow me coming up from my opponent, no surprise. So I'm able to find out what item this Togus is, and it does reveal to be Scope Lens set. So it does kind of concern me because there is a potential flamethrower in the future if I don't knock it out here. Shadow Sneak to try to get rid of my eject button, but I already gave it to the Togus, so this was basically the perfect turn for me, as there is a Steel Spike and it does a massive amount of damage to Togus as I'm able to raise the defense stats on both my Pokemon. Which really only comes to play against Tyranitar or the I guess the Shadow Snakes that are coming out. But it really doesn't matter too much, but it's like nice to have just in case I take a lot of damage from the Poltergeist. So there is that factor, and yeah, since I have the Scope Lens, I have to trick the Poltergeist if it comes out, and if it is that Poltergeist, I gotta hope that Scope Lens doesn't screw me over and crits my Dragapult, because I live any attack besides my opponent critting me with the Max Phantasm into my Dragapult. So I think this turn I do go for the Max Ghost here into the Moripot. I know that Ally Switch is a play, and I felt like even if there was Ally Switch, again, I felt like my Dragapult lived anyway and my opponent didn't set up, which is absolutely huge, and I can still make some similar plays the following turn. So I'm gonna go for the trick, and and I was like, yeah, I think this is the best play, because even if you protect, if you max guard, I think they're both fine situations. It's like Dusclops can't really do much here. If it's Shadow Sneak, Trick Room you want to assume, as well as the we saw one more move, right? I can't remember. Ally Switch, right, Ally Switch. So I don't know the fourth move, but I felt like there wasn't really a move that really changed the pace of this game. Maybe Will-O-Wisp, but I really doubted it would be Will-O-Wisp on this team. So there is the Dynamax coming out from the Poltergeist. My opponent kind of needs this response because Dragapult is going to clean up otherwise. And I think my opponent goes for Max Guard here, if I remember right. No, it actually just went for Ally Switch again, which is fine for me. Okay. So I'm able to go for the trick here into the Dusclops and get rid of the Violet, which was nice because I could potentially knock out this Dusclops with the Max Ghost here. So that's not too bad for me, as Max Ghost comes out into the Dusclops and does about 95%. Like, it's hanging on by a real sliver, which is really clutch for that Dusclops, but that's completely fine for me, as the Poltergeist will go for the Max Phantasm, but it's not boosted, so I'm at full HP, and as I did suspect, I am able to survive with my Dragapult because I am an extremely bulky Dragapult on this team, and I'm able to activate my weakness policy. So felt that was really solid for me. This position's absolutely a golden position, but the problem is Ally Switch is still a thing the following turn. I think I originally was thinking I could max guard and maybe like foul play or taunt here to prevent future Ally Switches, because I felt like you had to target the Dragapult slot no matter what. But I think the play I ended up deciding to go for was Max Ghost the Moripot slot and foul play the Dusclops slot, if I am correct. No. I Max Ghost the Dusclops slot and I foul play the Moripot slot because this covers for self Shadow Sneak. Yeah, this covered for Ally Switch if my opponent went for it, because if he Ally Switch, the Max Ghost gets redirected into the Poltergeist and I knock it out. And if you go for the self Shadow Sneak, you most likely target down the Dragapult in that case, which means foul play goes into the Moripot and knocks it out because of its lower defenses. Or if it doesn't, it just puts it in Shadow Sneak range. Like, I was pretty sure of that. So Max Guard comes out from the Moripot, as Shadow Sneak does not get me from the Dusclops because of my Steel Spike from earlier, and I'm able to get rid of the Dusclops, and that is absolutely huge because my opponent now has no way to automatically increase the speeds of this Moripot right here. So that's absolutely huge. Like, you could go Milotic, but I could trick the Milotic. So my opponent's really in a really tough position because you can't go Milotic here. If you go Milotic, I just trick and Max Ghost, and I'm pretty sure that the game is sealed at that point, because I can just pick up a knockout right here with Max Ghost from either one of my Pokemon, realistically. Because yeah, the Moripot's no longer going to get that speed plus the weakness policy boost, which is absolutely huge. My Dynamax is over though, which is a thing. Actually, my Dynamax is over, right? Yeah, my Dynamax is over. Okay, no, I remember. Like, I remember playing this out now. It wasn't a knockout I was picking up because, again, I could have just Phantom Forced and I think tricked anyway that slot. But here I'm in a good position because like I could Phantom Force here, but I was like, okay, Togekiss is a threat because it's probably Scope Lens on the Togekiss. And the question is, what's the bigger threat to me? And I definitely think it's the Togekiss if I am able to prevent setting up the weakness policy boost. So I go for a bluff here actually. I go for the Taunt into Togekiss as well as a Phantom Force into the Togekiss slot as well. Because of the fact this allows me to basically bluff that I'm targeting the Phantom Force into that Poltergeist. So if I can get rid of this Togekiss, Fairform can win the end game. So basically I'm baiting my opponent right now to switch out the Poltergeist or to allow me to get rid of the Togekiss, because Togekiss is the big threat. If I can get rid of Togekiss, I'm pretty confident in my ability to win this game as long as there's no Ice Beam freeze from the Milotic. So I go for Phantom Force Taunt here, as I do go for the as the Max Phantasm does come out into the Sableye, which does pick up a knockout. So my opponent did read that, which is fine. I was completely okay with that. As Dazzling Gleam comes out and obviously the Avoid here. And now I can go out into Fairform here because I did go for the Phantom Force into the Togekiss, and I'm hoping maybe I could bait out the Flamethrower at this point. My opponent might be scared that I target down the Poltergeist here. So I felt like overall this was the best play because I'm able to go for a Phantom Force into Togekiss as well as a knockoff into the Moripod, which will pick up the knockout after the defense boost. I was thinking Power Whipping that slot because I know my Milotic's coming in, but I'm like, wait, I could just get rid of my Milotic's Choice Scarf and that would 100% seal up the game anyway. So knockoff allows me to A, knock out the Moripod, or B, get rid of the Choice Scarf from my Milotic, and both are really solid for me regardless. So that's what I decided to do. The only problem was if Togekiss switched down to Milotic, which would have made this game a lot tougher, but I felt like overall, I don't think my opponent had enough tools to win if that was the case. So the Milotic does come out here, as Phantom Force does go out into the Togekiss slot, and it is a +2 Phantom Force. I don't know if the Milotic, if it has any bulk, most likely not. I don't think it would have lived it regardless. So I'm able to get a knockoff into the Milotic slot, get rid of its Choice Scarf. And that is really good for me because now the Milotic can't sub that Poltergeist anyway. That still has its weakness policy, by the way, and so that is still something that I had to be concerned about, which is why I tried to prevent this position as much as possible. So now I can get a guaranteed Phantom Force into the Poltergeist, and at this point, there's nothing my opponent can do. There's no Hypnosis shenanigans that could happen. Shell Smash doesn't matter at this point. I don't know, the Poltergeist gets Ally Switch, but even if that can't even save my opponent at this point. Like, yeah, so I'm C-Bomb to Milotic and Phantom Force. At this point, I just have to clean up and attack target was in front of me. Fairform should be able to win the game. Even if there's an Ice Beam freeze at this point, I'm able to win because I'm able to knock out the Poltergeist the following turn. And then Arcanine will knock out the bulkless Milotic with Life Orb Wild Charge in the back. So this is basically the position I was fighting for, and I was able to get all the tools. Like, I got myself into this position that I was exactly able to do. So Brutal Swing comes out, which makes sense because I think at this point my opponent hopes for a crit and a Fairform. I thought my opponent either went for the Ice Beam freeze or you go for the crit here, and I think my opponent's going for the crit, but I was like pretty sure that crit Shadow Ball won't knock out my Fairform with this All Best. The Brutal Swing, Milotic takes some chip. There's a weakness policy activation on the Poltergeist, as Iron Bars will chip this Milotic, guaranteed in range of Seed Bomb at this point, as Shadow Ball does come out into the Fairform slot. And as you can tell, 174 down to 81, a critical hit would not have picked up the KO. Even a double critical hit wouldn't have picked up the knockout. So Milotic does go down, and that is 100% going to be a win for me, as next turn Phantom Force will be able to knock out the Poltergeist. And even then, like, I have a 3v1 situation and Poltergeist does not have any spread moves. Does not have any good recovery here that could change the game. Strength Sap wouldn't save it anyway. Like, basically it goes down to everything on my entire team. Like, Gyro Ball will be able to pick up a knockout. Phantom Force will be able to pick up a knockout. There's basically nothing my opponent can do. So Shadow Ball comes out into Fairform, picks up the knockout, but Fairform being an MVP here, doing a ton of work, and Phantom Force is able to knock out the Poltergeist, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the end of this set. So I am able to win the set 2-1, advance on to top 32 of the Champions Cup, finishing 8-1 in the Swiss rounds, and I was very, very happy about the time. I think game 3 I played absolutely what I needed to do. I played really well against the Ally Switch. I think all the plays that I made with the Dragapult plus Sableye against the Togekiss Dust class was perfect. I felt like overall I covered basically almost every single possible option that Dust Claps plus the Poltergeist could do afterward in order to fight back. And then I positioned the end game into basically I made a good bait and was able to successfully able to win the set. So yeah, I do hope that everyone enjoyed today's Champions Cup analysis. I will be bringing my top 32 match, which is actually spoiler alert, it is going to be the last match of the Champions Cup set that I have. But I hope that everyone's been enjoying the series. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like down below. It really does show your support. Let me know if you want me to enter an online tournament in the future and record more of these post-game analysis. Let me know in the comments down below. And also you can check out my Twitch channel. As I mentioned before, I've been streaming a lot more, and tomorrow I'm actually starting a Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver Nuzlocke that was voted in from the fans on Twitter, and it is going to be an extremely challenging Nuzlocke with a lot of unique rules. It's going to be super fun. If you do want to come hang out, be sure listed in the Twitch link down below in the comments, in the description, but you can feel free to comment in this video as well. It really helps out. Subscribe, hit the bell. If you never want to miss another upload, you can check out my social media, side series, all the good stuff. My main series, back-to-back battles, all that good stuff will be listed down below. My top 32 match will be brought on soon to the channel, but otherwise, yeah, you can join my community Discord as well. And if you want to go an extra mile support my content, there is my Patreon page listed as well down below. But there is a way to support me by just clicking a like on this video, sharing it with your friends, leaving a comment down below. All those things help me out. But otherwise, I think that's going to be it. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day, people. And until we battle again, I'll catch y'all later.